All right, let's jump into it. Game number 2 here. FlyQuest is currently down 0-1 to Team Dignitas if you're just joining us now.
They've got to find themselves a win here, or they go 0-2 overall on opening week. Again, we just got done talking about some of the other teams to walk that road. Phoenix 1 and Cloud9 being 2 of them. FlyQuest does not want to join that club. It's not a cool club to join, but we'll be seeing if they get membership, like it or not, after this game. Dignitas would like to see that become a reality. They will ban the LeBlanc away from high, as Zach is banned away by FlyQuest, keeping up with those meta-based bans.
All right, there we go. Some Zyra coming through as well. She's been right up there. You know, not permaban status, but definitely highly prized by most of the teams early on. She is able to really punish some of the shielding supports as well. So, you know, Lulu, after the nerfs to her health and to her shielding abilities, can definitely pressure there, especially with everybody taking Ignite now. A lot of kills can come through. Kennen banned away from FlyQuest. They don't want Ssumday to also have the option of using that to be a split pusher in the top lane.
So many good split pushers right now, though, and Ssumday's the kind of guy that can just wreak havoc through your team, like we saw in the last game, if you give him something that works well into the current situation of the game. Lucian was that ticket last game. We'll have to see if they put him on another similar type of role this game, or if they send him back to more of a traditional tank type of duty there in the top lane. Dignitas now with Rengar and Elise being the last 2 bans coming through from the teams. They've got first pick, and it looks like they're thinking about Karma.
Yeah, Karma's still very, very strong at the moment. You can flex her to mid, you can have her in the support, so it's still a common opener, you know, even with people having decreased priority on the shielding supports and, you know, playmaking come through more, as we keep on saying for most of the games, but not going to be the case here. That long-range engage definitely going to be key. You talked about it a little bit during the last game, but the arrows that were coming through from Lod were very, very accurate, and they almost always at least got, you know, QSSs or summoners out, unless they got the entire engage.
And one thing that we mentioned as well was how much pick potential, how much CC was available on the entirety of the team. You had a Syndra stun, you had a Zyra root, you had the Ashe and the Ivern as well. So anybody could start the CC chain, and then everybody else follows up with it. It was so problematic to go up against something like that. You had to be so careful if you were FlyQuest.
And FlyQuest are going to go with the Lulu Varus here. Combination to, you know, buff up Turtle again. See if they can keep him afloat.
And we got to keep an eye on Turtle, because last time he had a couple situations, especially the one bottom lane. He was too far forward, got himself picked off, caused trouble for not just him, but his team too as they tried to save him. He's got to correct these errors.
He also had really key ultimates. He also won them a bunch of team fights and did win them skirmishes on the bottom side as well.
That's true.
Hitting those Varus ultimates, so got to give him some credit as well.
So if we can get the good and drain out some of the bad, he might be able to be what this team needs, put the situation on his back, and carry him across the finish line, find that win. FlyQuest, but it looks like Dignitas are going to go with that Karma that they were thinking about earlier, as well as picking up the Lee for Chaser.
All right, Chaser Lee Sin. Let's see what we can get done early, because the bottom lane, bit of a stalemate there. Not that interesting as far as Ashe Karma into Varus Lulu. We've seen it so many times. And as much as we like to keep repeating that supports should be playmakers now, and we're so happy that they're not always the shielding ones, still popping up. Anyways, Syndra, Fort High, he's going to be the one in charge of that power that you're so in love with.
Of course, picking that one up now, they do it with eliminating the possibility for Dignitas to respond before the next round of bans, so they can ban out some of the tricky counter matchups for Syndra, but they still open up that counter pick possibility for Team Dignitas to get themselves something that will work well into it.
Yeah, and Keane is a guy that has, in the past, had some very unorthodox and hidden counter picks as well in store for very meta stuff like that. We'll see if you know, anything gets drawn out here. So far, though, no extra mid lane target bans. You'd think something at least like the Fizz would probably be banned, especially since Lee Sin is already showing, but High is not worried about it.
Yeah, it doesn't look like that at all. Rumble and Thresh, the bans from FlyQuest. Dignitas taking Ivern off the table, saying, you know what? We're not letting you stack 2 different shield users. We got the Karma, you got the Lulu. Ivern's just out of there. We're not going to be playing that game today. One more ban for Team Dignitas before we get to the final 4 picks of the game, which is going to be Renekton, keeping that one away from balls.
All right, what is the top lane going to look like this time around? Back to tanks, will it be?
Well, looks like at least it's going to be that way for FlyQuest, but then again, could also be a jungler. Don't exactly know with the Gragas.
Moon's Gragas was actually very good in Spring Split. Right when Gragas came to prominence, you know, he had a lot of very good flanks and very good engages with the ultimate. I think he was one of the players that really adapted to the timing difference in the ultimate really quickly and quite well.
Now this will be fun. We get to see the same matchup in mid lane from last game, but it's switched with the players. So this is, I always like seeing games like this, Kobe, where you get a series where they played the other person's champion in back-to-back games, so you can see who really did outplay the other person, not just through the matchup. Once you play both ends of the matchup, you can see, oh, is it just the Syndra won both times, or this guy won as both ends of it? Yeah, that's how you truly show.
Especially this type of matchup, right? Where can you actually dodge out, you know, from Syndra, and this type of matchup where there is very high jungle pressure here. A Lee Sin adds a lot to Orianna. If Lee Sin can keep vision around the sides, she doesn't have to be quite as scared. You still have to respect Syndra level 6, you know, going for that kill, but can definitely even it up.
Looks like it will be the big man in the jungle as Shen is locked in for the top lane of FlyQuest. And we'll see Ssumday on Fiora. We thought he carried hard on Lucian. This is a champion that can be one of the hardest carries in the entire game of League of Legends.
Yeah, they're going all carries all the time now for Ssumday in Summer, and he is really embracing it once again. FlyQuest, meanwhile, though, although it's not the first tank that they lock in, it will still be the tank matchup. And Shen, you know, he can, for the early stages, do just fine versus Fiora. It's about the scaling that comes in with Fiora, where she really starts to beat up on him. You know, once you get the Ravenous Hydra, once you get the Black Cleaver, the scaling really does take over. But, you know, in the early stages, Ball should be just fine on the Shen, fight his way out. Maybe even be able to open up some cross-map pressure with his ultimate.
And this is a champion that works better for Ball's style as well. We talked about how the split push, try to play some sort of fighter 1v1er type thing like Keane hasn't always been his thing, but Shen is a champion that Balls can help the rest of the team with, work together, follow high shot calling, and make those moves as a unit.
And we'll see if those moves can come through. Talking up Moon on the Gragas and the possible initiations. They're definitely going to need it here because they are already down one game in the series. Need to push it to game number 3. Try and salvage their weekend.
Moon on Gragas, Chaser on Lee Sin. Both of these guys on champs that they're known for those plays. Should be a lot of fun to see who can get active, who can get their lanes ahead. You can hear the crowd going crazy as we are heading into Summoner's Rift for the second time in this best of 3. Dignitas, if they find the win, they're walking away with a 2-0 weekend. But if FlyQuest win this one, we're going to game 3. Out of the summoning platform they go. Last time, we mostly just saw a line of scrimmage with a little bit of delayed warding towards the Raptor areas. Have to see what we get this time around. Remember, though, there is no Ivern, so the cheekiness, the trolliness, the random invades and steals, that's going to be toned down most likely.
All right, let's see. Where will junglers acquire level 3? How early can you go for those invades? Chaser on Lee Sin is going to have to deal with a ward on his Raptors. Not too big of a deal, but that does add some information over for FlyQuest. See if Moon can get a nice pull on his mid lane camp. Syndra is actually a very nice mid laner to have. Gragas can set his barrel, charge it all the way up, and Syndra just lays down a sphere over the wall to help with the pull.
Easy peasy. Dignitas moving in, though, wanting to at least get some vision down on their own, counter the vision that was laid down by FlyQuest in the Dig jungle, and now both sides are going to have just a little bit more knowledge about what the other is doing here at the start. Dorian's Blade for Fiora there in the top lane. Dorian's Shield for Balls. Dorian's Shield, again, very, very popular in a lot of different lanes after its rework.
And really does help out in those matchups where you know you're on the defensive. Fiora's the aggressor. Looking to get the harassment down early.
The ward dies on the chickens. Chaser can now beat these up on his own. Not really worried about who's going to be keeping eyes on him.
Every time with Shen, by the way, if you're looking to trade back in this matchup, and hold your own versus those carry champions early, as you should be able to do. Always look for the pass-through of the Spirit Sword to come from the other side when you activate your Q, and you should be able to trade back just fine for the early stages. Right now in the bottom lane, speaking of trading though, Lemmonnation's taking most of the damage, and he has most of the health potions though, so that's how you like to do it.
Much more of a similar matchup between supports this time as well. Shielding, utility potential on both of them as opposed to the raw damage power of the Zyra. So not as much to worry about for FlyQuest, thinking, oh man, are we just going to get caught out? Are we going to get killed and bursted instantly? Karma still has damage threat, but it's not a Zyra, right?
Definitely true. Chaser going to go for the Raptor Red Scuttle Crab level 3. Probably running an experienced rune there for himself in order to go for that invade. We're wondering where will they get their level 3s from? And he will see now that he's a little bit late around the opposite side.
Oh!
Moon still gets it.
Almost stole that one away. Just a single damage instance away from having the Sonic Wave be the steal there. So bit of a bummer for Chaser. Would have been nice for him to be able to deny Moon that large wolf, but Moon manages to keep that for himself. 11 CS to 8 there in the jungle. Moon just going to continue along his path, and Chaser will head back into his own. Yeah,
Moon powering right along here on Gragas. This is a very good opening for Gragas. Level 4 at 3.5 minutes. Headed top now to try and mess with the carry matchup. This is because they saw Lee Sin invade. He knows this is super duper free.
The taunt lands onto Ssumday, who's now flashing away from the flash body slam and gets himself out of what looked to be a real bad situation.
Great early flash there from Ssumday, and he knew that there was nothing else he had to dodge because Balls had just used the taunt to set this gank up. So Ssumday knows Moon is definitely coming for me with the body slam flash, gets to the other side, and a really nice outplay there from Ssumday to keep their split push hopes alive.
Ooh, same time.
It's really interesting because you have to do it late enough that the Gragas still commits his flash. If you do it as soon as Gragas starts body slamming, then Gragas doesn't have to flash to follow up. You know, he can flash at any time during the body slam to keep it going, but Ssumday waits there, able to get the flash out and survive himself.
Pretty much you couldn't have played that better. That was the ideal situation for Ssumday, given the scenario he was in. That's the outcome he got. Goes back to base, TP's back. Extra long sword and a refillable potion now, along with that control ward he picked up. Try to make sure that he's in a good spot to continue pushing up, controlling this lane, and getting himself farmed so he can find that scaling you were talking about earlier, Kobe. Meanwhile, Keane pushing high underneath his turret. Both of these guys very, very low on mana right now, though, so don't expect a lot of explosive potential there between either one of these two mid laners. Balls with a good taunt onto Ssumday. Spirit's Refuge providing that dodge field to make it so Ssumday has a very difficult time returning any sort of damage of his own.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, FlyQuest lanes are just pushed up to their turret everywhere.
Meanwhile, the one not pushed up to the turret here is Keane.
Keane getting himself back. Moon pops the flash there. Good blowing of that summoner. And now, considering he got the cleanse too, this means Keane is a prime target for a return gank, especially once you've got the ultimates up for Moon and for High.
Up until this point, Moon's been doing more work, but Chaser wants to even it up.
Sauce down, Dig tanking the turret. First blood goes the way of Dignitas. It doesn't matter about the quality, Kobe. If you've got the quantity, the money goes the way it did.
Yeah, and it was set up very nicely by the snare finishing channeling. They take advantage of Turtle having been left there by himself. No Lemonnation around to help out. They desync their recalls, and Turtle goes down for first blood, set up there with the root from Big.
Goes on to Chaser as well, so he'll be that much stronger as he moves around the map and looks to make even more plays, closing in on that level 6. I mentioned that High and Moon would be deadly once they had their ults, but we know that it's a game changer for Lee Sin as well, getting that kick, being able to misposition opponents and really turn what could otherwise be nothing into a big play opportunity.
Yeah, that's a really good job by Team Dignitas, recognizing the opportunity they had at their hands with the desync recalls, calling over Chaser, getting him behind for the little window that they had to go for that dive, and being able to pull that off pretty cleanly.
And Chaser does a lot of work for Dignitas. I don't remember what the exact stat was, but I remember a discussion that we had during spring about how when you look at the kills that Ssumday got in lane, 90% of them, or some crazy number around that, were because Chaser was involved. Chaser enables a lot of what Dignitas can do. When Chaser's having a good game, you can expect Dignitas to be able to convert that into some kind of an advantage. Chaser jumping into this top side now. The Balls gets himself away in time as Moon looks for the play on the no summoners Keane. Orianna here mid. Shockwave used. The ulti still finds the mark, and High gets the burst. Keane's out of there. Success for High and Moon.
Yep, Chaser goes top to help Ssumday push out that wave because Ssumday was getting a bit low, doesn't have his teleport. Needed some extra help to get through that minion wave. Meanwhile, Moon taking that opportunity to go for a gank of his own. Here's your repeat gank on the double summoners were burned last time, so High is able to clean that kill up. And Syndra now, with the added power in this matchup, post level 6, have to be very scared and respect that ultimate.
Chaser moving back into his jungle, grabbing the red buff for the second time. First Drake, by the way, is Infernal again. So if a team gets a big advantage early on, they've got a nice prize waiting for them. Still very, very close right now, though. Dead, even gold, 1 kill on each side. Nobody off to any sort of a crazy advantage, although you do see solo lane CS leads for both players on FlyQuest, while there's a small CS lead for Dignitas in the bottom lane to make up for it.
And you really do have to take into account the team comp and the win conditions here for Team Dignitas. Even if it is an Infernal Drake, if Balls teleports and uses Stand United down to the Drake to the bottom side, Team Dignitas have the option, if the fight's not looking good, they could just have Fiora continue to stay on top side, get more farm into the split pushing power that wants to scale up, and try and get damage on that turret instead. They don't have to take a fight down there on the bottom side. You're not forced into these things. They do, though, have the option. Ashe Arrow could definitely set it up.
Ashe Arrow flying all the way across the map there.
That's not the arrow.
That's not the arrow. That's the hawk shot thing. That's what I
drone,
mean.
buddy.
That's a drone. Is it a drone? Yeah. I thought it was like a little spirit eagle.
On the prototype here with the...
Okay, fine. Prototypes don't have spirit eagles. They have drones. But you know what I mean. I meant to say the spirit eagle, even though I said the arrow. That's my bad. But I mean the eagle. It's flying across the map, gets a look at the camps. Chaser here in the top side. A grand challenge is issued. Spirit's Refuge keeping these guys away from completing their job initially. Ssumday walks right back into his healing field, picks up some extra health, and this could be turret first blood for Dignitas.
Those win conditions definitely take into account from Dignitas. They focus on top side, they gank for the split pusher, they get the first turret, they get the extra gold here off the kill, and he's going to be able to push it in. Just huge, huge victories right there towards the Fiora dream of Ravenous Hydra and Black Cleaver coming through sooner than FlyQuest would like.
And Moon wasn't able to get up in time to do anything. He shows up, but it doesn't exactly result in what he needed. Now mid! Makes the cast, but it knocks Keane to safety, and he walks out of the way as well. Now High going to be pulled underneath the turret. But Syndra still has that ulti. Ssumday and Chaser now trying to make their own moves, but Balls is in there with Stand United, and this quickly disengages.
Yeah, very quickly there. Chaser ward hops in, flashes out. Turtle, though!
Oh, no, WildTurtle bursted down. Wild Growth to keep him alive. TP coming in. Shen can be all over the map. Back to back.
Oh!
The taunt finds the mark. Laud tries to make it 1-for-1. Turtle running and gunning and finding the kill for Big.
Balls is everywhere, man. He's Stand United in the mid lane to save that one, then teleports bottom lane to save Turtle. The roam comes in as well from Lemonnation with the shields, and FlyQuest want to take the Infernal on top of it.
You gotta keep track of Balls. When you're on a champion like Shen, he can be all over the place.
In FlyQuest games, Balls protects you.
Balls protects you in the world of FlyQuest. And Ssumday now jumping into the middle here. Turtle bursted down. Moon trying to return the damage onto Chaser. Balls taking low. Ssumday over the wall. Blast plants behind and gets away. Style points for days on this guy, man. Moon tries to take a swig and get himself out of trouble, but Ssumday is not going to have that happening now as Dignitas get their revenge and find 3 on the back end.
Well, that was fun, but a little bit too much as FlyQuest wanted to get the Infernal Drake on top of it. Early death timers, though, already came up for Team Dignitas, and they make that party very short-lived. Back to reality here, where Team Dignitas still have their gold lead, and now they have the Infernal Drake on top of it. Here's the mechanics though. Ssumday goes in right into the middle, does get knocked up, but gets all the vitals, jumps over the wall for a little bit of loop-de-loop there with the blast cone. And everybody trading turns here. Moon with that last re-entry into the fight though, ill-advised, and he goes down on top of it.
Looks like he was trying to get a body slam onto Ssumday, maybe thinking Ssumday was going to walk back up. Just tried to get the cheeky kill there. Instead, just ends up giving over another free kill to Dignitas with a 1,500 gold lead and an Infernal Drake under their belts now. Feeling good about the outcome of that last fight, despite how sketchy it was at the start. And now Balls doesn't have either one of those globals for a little while.
True. What's he doing around Rift Trail there? Just getting busy?
Hanging around.
Yeah,
He's having a good time.
Don't want to mess with it because he's outnumbered.
Taking a vacation from top lane. Getting beat up by a Fiora is not very fun. Sometimes you just got to get away from that for a minute.
The Fiora with early jungle pressure is not a fun situation for Shen. 2 kills onto Ssumday. He also got 2 assists out of all that skirmish down bottom side. Gold lead definitely in hand for himself. And he's going to be one of the biggest ones, benefiting from the Infernal Drake as well.
Very, very scary. 2-0-2 on the Fiora, 2-0-3 for Chaser's Lee Sin. Full kill participation and just slightly less than that for these two. Been a part of everything Dignitas is doing this game. As Ssumday continues to push up here, 30 CS advantage over Balls, who's hit that point where although you're not staring down the barrel of a Ravenous Hydra and a Black Cleaver, you're pretty scared of that impending doom coming your way.
Yeah, and you can see Ssumday getting vision in the red quadrant. You know, he can go down, farm out the jungle as well, keep the pressure on top side. That being said, he cannot follow the next Stand United here. No teleport available, so it will be that trade. If Balls decides to Stand United somewhere else, Ssumday will try and push down this turret and gain advantage that way. Roam here, though, from Chaser, forces Balls away.
Chaser's saying, okay, we'll get Balls out of here. We'll take the tier 2. Shouldn't be too hard. Even if they try to do something on the other end of the map, it's a T1 for T2 trade, and Dignitas find their objective, no problem. Chaser makes sure he gets out of there in time for Ssumday to get some solo gold, and he just gets richer and richer.
The rich get rich in the NA LCS. Keane, not one of them, because he's been ganked a ton by Moon.
Oh, they've been so much focus on towards Keane in the mid lane. Moon's barrels have just been finding their way towards him, and no matter how hard he tries to outplay it, the ultimate from high does the second part of the work and just gets that job done the way it needed to be. But Keane, with both summoner spells available, he will have ways to try to get out of those situations now. But FlyQuest falling further and further behind, 3,000 gold down now. We need to see some sort of change from them. This isn't the FlyQuest team that was super proactive and taking people by surprise in Spring Split. They seem much more complacent.
Oh,
now, as I say that,
in.
they try to make some kind of a play down here in the bottom lane. Turtle getting the slows as Dignitas grabs the Rift Herald. Turtle taking some damage, but it's the Dignitas bottom lane that gets themselves exploded. Turtle keeping himself alive as Ssumday has rotated towards mid, trying to work on this tier 1. Lemonnation will move in to try to stop him, but Ssumday is just anything but concerned.
Oh, now he's a critter. Ha! Lemonnation able to save the turret for a little while. Buying time for High to come up. High is the wave clear.
Shockwave to stop him. More damage to follow it up. Keane trying to just make him low enough that he's scared to defend the turret. Bottom lane T1 does fall on the side of Dig. FlyQuest grabbing that one. Very important. Their first turret of the game. But it is going to be traded here in the mid lane. Good riposte from Ssumday blocking that stun. Even though it wasn't that imperative, it was still cool. And now he walks himself out, content with how much pressure he's putting on this map. Ravenous Hydra done too. And he's already got the Phage.
Yeah, he is well on his way to being a sort of unanswerable split push. They're going to need multiple members. Actually, almost already, they need multiple members here to deal with Ssumday anyway. So, just needs a little bit of vision for himself. If Team Dignitas continue with their focus on this game plan, just add a little bit of vision for Ssumday, and he will continually gain them extra map pressure on that side lane. That's one thing here, because FlyQuest have been fairly proactive still. You know, Moon getting off a lot of ganks. It's just that Team Dignitas have had a more focused game plan. Yeah. Their ganks up on the top side into this Fiora, you know, into this matchup, boom, have been yielding more rewards. Riftail there down on the bottom side. Chaser doesn't want to dirty his hands with taking down that turret. As a
nope, he's just like, get in there, you big goofy bug. Slams him in there. Granted, it's not exactly going to get a whole lot else, probably, but it could. They are rotating bodies down here to help protect it now, but sometimes you just got to deploy the Rift Herald and hope he does what he's supposed to do.
Yeah, I mean, they've got all 3 lanes pushing here. Fiora pushed in top, then rotated mid. Rift Herald meets up with them at second turret.
Now
gets off the charge, but he doesn't have much health left, so
Yeah.
charge doesn't do as much damage.
The charge, for those of you who may not know, does damage based off how much health Rift Herald has, but he also hurts himself when he does it, so then each subsequent charge cannot be as strong as the last. So you only get that one real huge one that does 40% of the turret's health bar. After that, they're going to be less impactful. Can you imagine if it didn't hurt him, though, and you could just charge every turret in a lane for 40% of its health?
Put a helmet on your Rift Herald.
Yes, you can buy him an item that gives him a bicycle helmet so he won't accidentally hurt himself when he hits the turrets. I'd buy that.
Perfect. Meanwhile, Cloud Drake will come up. Team Dignitas can buy that for $0.
Yeah, I think they're going to make that investment. Chaser and Ssumday more than content to pick this one up rather rapidly for themselves. FlyQuest say, you know what, that's not even worth wasting the time thinking about contesting. They won't even bother, as Ssumday sets up shop now in the bottom part of the map. Again, looking for tier 2s.
My question is, would you buy a Rift Herald skin with a bicycle helmet if it didn't actually help protect him?
Just like
If
purely
it was just for
cosmetic.
looks, yeah. Bicycle helmet.
Will it give
Rift
the
Herald.
bicycle helmet to my opponents when they take it?
There's only one Rift Herald.
No, that's what I'm saying. But like, make it so when I summon him, he puts a helmet on.
Yeah.
But not my opponents.
The Rift Herald, that's on the map.
Okay, they don't get to benefit from my Rift Herald bicycle helmet. Their Rift Herald can bonk himself into the turret.
So selfish. All right, you're not down. I get it.
No, I'm down.
Turtle
only
pushing
for my Herald.
lanes,
I'm not
man.
buying everybody bike helmets. I don't got that kind of money. I would buy that, though.
Okay.
I would definitely buy that. Skins team, I know at least one of you's listening. Come on. Meanwhile, FlyQuest pushing down the top side, taking down this tier 1, the second one they'll find this game. 2 turrets to 5 is still the count, though, so they've got a little ways to go. They are heading kills. But compare the itemization, Kobe, between the top laners. Ssumday with Ravenous Hydra and Black Cleaver now done. Balls still fumbling around with the pieces of a Titanic. Not where you want to be.
Ssumday is pretty much has all doors open to him, and yeah, I guess they got 1 ward in the blue quadrant. That's all he needs to take out the whole jungle, though. He's farming away inside the jungle. Then he'll return to the wave. Pretty much just gets the power farm an entire quadrant of the map at this point. So things only get worse. You're right. It's really a poor situation to be in for FlyQuest. And it really requires them to force something away from Ssumday, because it's very difficult to answer his split push after he goes back and gets his next purchase. Tenacity will reduce the duration of those taunts, so he might even get in a couple cheeky auto attacks on the turret, even if Balls is there, and then heal up off the minion wave afterwards. Regardless, the timer is on.
Ooh, that arrow wasn't exactly where they needed it to be. Lot aimed that one a little bit too straight, as now the damage comes in. Man, Big is just gone before he has a chance to react. The combo damage.
Again, Turtle accurate with these Varus ultimates, snares a kill for themselves, and they also have drawn Ssumday away from the split push game. See if they can actually funnel in here.
Still hanging out off to the side. Looking for those opportunities. No Chain of Corruption, no Syndra ult, no Gragas cast. They are without a lot of their big team fight resources. So they will be cautious with this one. High fires off the E, but doesn't have a target there. And Keane makes him feel a little bit better, missing the shockwave.
He ups the ante here. Look, I don't have an ult.
It's like, oh, you think you're going to miss your E? I'm going to miss my R. What now?
Whose cooldown comes back faster? High's running out of mana, actually.
Now Chaser jumping in. The Sonic Wave into the Resonating Strike will follow the flash, but Chaser's got to be careful, taken very low. Wild Growth down onto high, keeping him okay, but Ssumday now going to be bursted out. The shutdown credit goes over to WildTurtle, and Dignitas, having lost their Fed Fiora, must now be very, very mindful of how this fight continues.
Yeah, that was a good trade for FlyQuest. They trade support for most rich member in the entire game.
I don't know about that one.
High is actually pretty rich after that fight.
Yeah.
So before that,
High might be rich
no,
now.
he's not. He's still 1,000 gold less than Ssumday. So
yeah, that trade's a little questionable.
never question me.
All right, fine. I won't question you. That's my bad. I goofed. You always gotta trust in Kobe. I broke the golden rule. But currently it's Dignitas, who's also breaking pretty important rules of not trading your most fed guy for a support.
All right. He may be rich, but he's dead.
Yeah.
Can't do much with the mummy. Ooh, the money.
The mummy. Yeah, I don't think you're going to pick a Mumu in this.
I would love to see him back in pro play.
Maybe one day.
Regardless, though, Baron is going to be the next option. Sumday's back at it again. Just go ahead and split push on that bottom side. He's got teleport available. Dignitas going to return to their game plan that has benefited them so much this patch, or this match. FlyQuest, though, want to force something, again, away from Ssumday, make him burn those summoner spells, and they don't want to give him time to really get this minion wave into position because it just gets worse and worse as time does go on.
I mean, technically, your statement about benefiting in this patch is true, because this is the first week we're seeing him play on this patch. It's all there.
Thank you.
It makes sense. You were right, again, even if you didn't mean to be.
Minions are down, though. They can't keep up the siege on the mid turret. FlyQuest very close to cracking that one open. But again, Ssumday pushes the wave up, and they have to do something about this. He's going to have alone time with his turret, actually. See how much damage he can get on it.
FlyQuest need to get somebody there pretty quickly. Every single one of those auto attacks packs a pretty nasty sting to it. Gets that below half HP with just the few seconds he had. FlyQuest luckily gets balls in place now with that Titanic Hydra to clear those waves out that much faster.
This is a two-part game plan, though. You know, when you split push, it's not just all on the Fiora, all on the split pusher. The rest of the squad needs to use that time to set up control wards, deny vision around Baron, and that's the thing that pulls the other team into two directions. So they can't all just pile on the Fiora and go for the kills. Dignitas now doing that, filtering into the Baron and setting up that vision.
Chaser seems to be having a hard time attacking that ward. It must be at the very edge of the control ward detection range or something along those lines. Blue buff being given over to high now. Ssumday not hanging out in that part of the jungle close enough to try to secure that, but Dignitas has decided, hey, let's go for the Baron.
They did 2 autos on the ward, didn't finish it off. And Brandon said, so there's 2 options. Either don't hit the ward at all, then they don't know that you're even there.
Right.
Or kill the whole thing.
You either go sneaky or you go all the way in on killing it. You can't go half and half.
They just did. Now they're going to go back on the Baron that they see FlyQuest doing the Dragon. Pings all down and their control ward's still available. So Dignitas easily going to be able to burn through this one. And FlyQuest, it looks like they made the decision, hey, it's too dangerous to face check these guys. So I guess we'll just take the Dragon instead.
But the problem with that is Dignitas sees their green light, and that means pedal to the metal. Baron Nashor, 25 minutes in.
And the big problem with that is Team Dignitas already have this super fed split pusher. Now with Baron, it's the dream of a split push team to be able to have Baron to work with to end out the game.
And a red buff. Fiora's just sitting exactly where she needs to be, working on Death's Dance, 3rd item too. Oh, double lifesteal Fiora is so impossible to deal with.
Red and purple, just needs the blue to top it off. The holy trinity of League of Legends neutral buffs.
Everybody from Dignitas now getting back at the same time, making sure that when this push happens, they can do it across the map together as a team. Exactly what you were talking about. It's not just up to Fiora. The rest of the Dig boys got to be in a spot to make something happen somewhere else.
Dig big.
Dig
right
big.
Up the middle.
Gotta go big.
The rest of the members. And then we just have to wait 2 more waves for Ssumday and Crew to be in place. FlyQuest, looking at it from the underdog's perspective, they gotta find some pocket of fog of war, because if Team Dignitas see them coming, it's gonna be so difficult for them to get the engage. I mean, what are you gonna rely on? The Flash ultimate from Turtle or Moon coming out of the fog of war with Gragas Flash? Those are really their main options, unless High is able to get one of those telegraphed long-range Syndra stuns. You know, it's going to be really difficult, and they're looking for the surprise.
And Kobe, if Dignitas wins this game and ultimately wins this match because of it, that means that the number 2, number 3, and number 4 teams from the NA LCS in Spring Split 2017 will all start Summer Split 0 and 2. Everything's upside down.
Unlucky.
Unlucky. Week 2, that's when we're starting for real. This is the practice games.
All right, FlyQuest have a chance to defy that statistic.
They could be like TSM. They could go 1-1, but they do got to win here, and then they got to win again. They got their work cut out for them.
All right, be like TSM. Go 1-1.
Go 1-1.
Ssumday, purple buff, here we go. Is he gonna try and get the auto pass balls? Dodge the taunt. He's not even going for it.
Not gonna attempt this one. Damage poking at him. Despite the happy for the Randuins, Balls just can't endure this damage from Ssumday at all.
He hit 3 vitals. That's enough true damage to force the Shen off of the turret. Then he doesn't have to go past him. Takes it out afterwards.
And now everybody's being dragged away on the side of FlyQuest. They can't defend the other lanes, so now the other Dignitas players get to push up and make their impact.
And that's kind of the problem with these compositions, right? You see the Fiora scaling so long in advance that you're just like, oh God, here it comes. I knew it was coming. The Fiora had a great start. Here comes the split push. Nobody can answer. An inhibitor is dead.
Yup. You just have to stand there and watch it happen and say, all right, I guess this is fine. Maybe she'll throw. Problem is, this is Ssumday. This isn't a random solo queue game with a Fiora that might overcommit and try to 1v5 fountain dive. The guy knows what he's doing. Yeah. Prominent split pusher, prominent carry from the top lane.
Ssumday and some dude. Big difference.
Definitely not one and the same here today. Player of the game in game number 1. Making an incredibly strong performance here.
Hey!
Boom goes the move. Not going to be finding him this time around. And without that flash or that cask, big tools down on the side of FlyQuest.
They can take turns using the flashes for the surprise play. 1 down now. Turtle still has his. Try and flash Varus ult somebody out of position. Team Dignitas is just going to take that money, though. Laugh their way all the way home.
I mean, Dignitas is happy with the outcome of this Baron play. You managed to break open the base. You got an inhibitor.
You could say that.
And Infernal Drake will be up in a little bit under 2 minutes, so they can grab even more damage for the whole team. This is looking very, very dire for FlyQuest. Almost 3,600 gold in the Baron play, power play for Dignitas. FlyQuest needs some kind of anything to grab onto, claw their way back into this game, but Dig is not giving it to them.
Scuttle Crab.
Scuttle Crab, there you go.
That's some kind of something right there.
Steps.
It's going to be in front of an Infernal Drake. No, it's actually going to time out before the Infernal Drake comes back up. Over a minute away there for that one.
Fistful of crabs. That's what FlyQuest. It's like the classic movie for a fistful of dollars, but it's a fistful of crabs.
I have not seen that movie.
It's a Western. Okay. One of those, like, FlyQuest is now at high noon in the middle of the town. The clock is about to tick, and they've got to find a way.
Time to at noon. No? Okay. Hey, stun!
All right, not going to find the stun today. High. 4-0-2 on this Syndra. 300 CS. The only person even remotely as strong as the Fiora on the side of FlyQuest.
All right, let's go high.
I think he's got to be the hero they need.
He's definitely the hero they need. Let's see if he's the one they deserve. Ultimate into multi-man stun. Definitely could buy them an opening. I mean, they do have damage on the team. They do have, you know, if they can catch them out of position.
You've got a Ludens, you've got a Void Staff, you've got Morello, another needlessly large rod in that inventory. High does a lot of damage.
They do not have the right to take this Infernal Drake, though. That will be Team Dignitas's.
Yeah, this should be no contest whatsoever. If you try to contest that, Ssumday is going to get inhibitor number 2, and that's just not a worthwhile trade. Infernal Drake quickly dropping, going the way of Team Dignitas, who still maintain that 6,000 gold lead. And with Baron coming up in 45 seconds, things are going to go from bad to worse. No death still as well on Chaser with this Lee Sin. Dead Man's Plate, Mauve Malmortius, Warrior Enchantment with the Tracker's Knife. Plenty of tools in his arsenal.
That is true.
These plays.
That is true.
But yet, despite how much Dignitas has done, it's still kind of funny that FlyQuest is the team that has found more kills for themselves. It's just they can't find anything else in the game. The turret count 3 to 7.
And again, it does come back to that game plan that was so clear for Team Dignitas, and they played really well to it. Chaser goes up to the top side. You know, Ssumday first, it requires outplay from him. He outplays that first gank from Moon. That was really impressive there with the early flash, timing it. So he also got Moon Splash. But then Chaser visits after he's pushed him under the turret. That's how they built this lead. If you didn't see the beginning of this game, good focus there. Moon going for a play, doesn't have flash this time around.
Arrow to stop high, making sure he doesn't chase this one down and find any sort of a setup. Orb comes over the wall, but FlyQuest won't find their marks. As Ssumday is in the enemy base, marching towards the Nexus turrets of all things. FlyQuest starting up the
They
Baron.
have to. It's not like they want to do this. They have to force something. Chaser gonna come around and look for a sneak on the backside. Moon might engage though.
Desperate times call for desperate measures. FlyQuest, though, now going to be funneled into the enemy jungle.
High
Turtle!
Oh my God.
Keane takes him all the way out. Now the rest of FlyQuest has got to find some kind of a way to exit here as Ssumday's push continues. He might just kill Balls, bursts him out. This is disaster for FlyQuest. One Nexus turret falls, more minions are marching into the base. All the rest of Dignitas has to do is prevent backs. Lemon will be able to get back there. Moon flashing away as soon as he sees the enemy flash. Ssumday going to these turrets. Lemon still trying to back. Remember, they never got Baron. He doesn't have the empowered recall. Big just going man mode against an out-of-mana Syndra. Lemon having to pop Wild Growth on himself. Ssumday still doing damage to the turret, but will not be able to take it down before Moon arrives. Still long death timers on the side of FlyQuest. Turtle will be up momentarily, but Balls has 15 seconds to go, and High's not around for 45. Dig will, at a minimum, make this another inhib under their belts. Now looking for even more, deciding to back off as FlyQuest shows up, but now they re-engage. Lemonnation is down. Moon going to be rooted up by that Karma, and Dig may just look to end right here. Still 25 seconds on High, 40 on Lemonnation. WildTurtle, Balls, and Moon have to make the defense here. Ssumday will retake that inhibitor in the bottom side, and Dig are looking to put the final nails in the coffin.
Yeah, arrow there from Lod gets them the kill, and Ssumday teleports in. Now they're going for it.
Trying to make some kind of a move. Balls is grand challenged, and the Vitals just destroy the guy. Dignitas, nothing going to be stopping them now. They get rid of Moon, the riposte to block the explosive cast. The shockwave rips Turtle out of the fountain and cuts him down, and Dignitas will go 2-0. Look at the smiles on the faces of the Dignitas players, happy about the outcome of that one, excited for an awesome result here in week number 1 of the Summer Split.
Someday fun day there. Lucian and Fiora. He gets to go full carry mode, split push all day long. And boy, is he happy about it.
6-1-3 on that Fiora. We mentioned early on in that game how in spring, a lot of the times when Ssumday got going, it was Chaser who helped him. 3-0-6 on that Lee Sin. Those two together just working in tandem to make the game their own and force FlyQuest to play the Dignitas win condition, to play the Dignitas game, and they didn't have the tools to respond.
Definitely true. Moon tried his best, focusing mid lane, getting some kills onto Keane, forcing out a lot of summoners, but not able to translate into objectives. And Team Dignitas, 2-0 in week 1 of the North American LCS Summer Split 2017, coming out strong.
Now, can they keep this up? This is a team that we talked about having a rough time at the start of the last split. At one point, they were even fighting to get out of being tied for last place in the entire NA LCS. Now, coming into Summer Split, after surging back during the second half of spring, they're starting off with a 2-0 beginning. They look strong. This is a team to keep your eye on.
Pretty much all the bottom teams in the North American LCS just flipping the script. Upside down now, as you said, number 2, 3, and 4.
All
teams from spring split all lose 0-2.
All 0-2, and the one team in the top 4 that didn't 0-2, they still didn't get a clean sweep. TSM only going 1-1. The gap is closing between the North American LCS teams. We got to add that little asterisk on the end of it there.
Different gap.
Different gap, but it's still closing. There's a gap closing somewhere. That's what's important, Kobe. We're getting some progress.
Yeah, I mean, it's been really interesting to watch, you know, the way in which this actually came about too, because everyone's so happy, you know, there's more playmaking, you know, there's more proactive plays being set up. Shot calling is very, very important as far as ending out a lot of these series.
Yeah, the cohesion between the Dignitas team. Even when you saw them after they got the Baron, they're saying, okay, wait for Ssumday. Everything goes very clean all the way up until they're pushing. And right as Ssumday draws the attention, that's when everybody else steps up. They just made sure that they did it as 5, always working together as the team, and those communication trainings, those communication practices, working together and making sure that everybody's on that same page. It's starting to pay off, and you can really see it.
Definitely true. I mean, Ssumday this time around, 6-1-3 on Fiora. Got the Flame Horizon over balls as well. And as you said, once you start to get to that point on Fiora where you're buying Death Stance and it takes like 3-4 people to try and take you down, those are the types of moments that players really enjoy on stage, right? The kind of God mode.
The hero mode.
Exactly.
Where you're the raid boss and they just have to try to find some way to get you out of there. But to hear more about that match, we're going to send things down to Riv, who's got an interview with Team Dignitas' bot laner.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I am joined by Dignitas Line after their victory over FlyQuest. A 2-0, looking pretty good on the week, I should say, at 2-0 as well. How do you guys feel coming into the split? And overall, how's it feel to be back on the stage?
It feels really good. We picked up a new support, and we're like subbing in him in an Xpecial, and he brings a lot of energy to the team. And then we're also scrimming with Shrimp, who we brought in as well. And then we got Saint in here as well. So the energy in the team is like a lot more lively. It's like a lot more positive now. It's more upbeat, and I feel like we have a good foundation to build off of now. Yeah.
All right, and now that I have you up here, question about the AD carry position. Last split, you kind of talked about how you have all of the elements that you need to make things work for Dignitas this time. Now with Big down there, it seems even a little bit more stronger. How are you feeling about your play coming in, and is it going to get much better?
I'm thinking it'll get a lot better. Before the split started, I don't think I practiced hard enough, and then I caught like a really, really bad cold like a week before the split, and I wasn't able to practice very well. But seeing how well like everybody on the team is doing really motivates me to improve, and I want to set like a higher standard for my performance because I think I played really terribly this weekend.
Well, all right then. You definitely set yourself up to do a little bit better. The team's right there behind you. Final question for you. Coming in very strong, what were the changes, the expectations coming in for Dignitas, and what are the goals of the team this split?
I think same as every other team, we're aiming for first. We want to be the best team that we can be, and we want to hit our ceiling this split. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Thanks for the interview. GG on the game. Dignitas taking the victory over FlyQuest, and we are going to throw it over to the analyst desk to break down the rest of that game.
Thank you very much, Riv. Well, guess what, Lot? You're in first place right now. 2-0, tied up there with CLG and Immortals at the end of week 1. But really, the story of this game was Ssumday, 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 and Ssumday.
I mean, there were other people on the Rift, but Ssumday.
But Ssumday
yes, exactly.
is the guy to look at. I mean, this is the kind of person that we talked about so much coming into the spring split as being a top laner that could take over the league, right? We have lots of top lane talent, but this was the guy that was supposed to come in and kind of raise the bar even more and, force the domestic junglers to have to step up to his level. And we saw that at times, specifically in the laning phase throughout the spring. But here in this summer split on the outset here, we're seeing that potential to carry as the meta is now also supporting it.
Yesterday on the Rumble games had some huge teleport flanks. This time around on the Fiora, obviously split pushing to victory. It is fair to say last season he never really struggled individually, but he sometimes didn't have the impact over the game that you thought he would. It was diminished by the other team, ignoring him sometimes depending on the champ he was on, or aggressively attacking him. His team couldn't follow up. This season, the team seems like it's on a better page, just with some of the coaching changes that came in, as well as Big joining the team and helping with some of the mid-late game shot calling. So, this early game was relatively scrappy. Chaser went bottom and top to get kills. FlyQuest, obviously, with the Moon high synergy, targeting more around mid lane, and it seemed like a pretty even game at the start.
And that's what's cool about it, right? Is we already knew that this guy was an individually very talented player, but you see how much it opens him up to be a star when you put just the right people around him. And hey, Big being the one, major change for this squad between the two splits, I have to believe that he's at least in part, responsible for the success that the team is finding so far within the split. Now I want to dive into some actual play here. And this is just some fun stuff that Mark and I were looking at throughout the game. 11:30 drag fight. Dignitas comes out big on this one. Ssumday playing like a monster. Walk the audience through our thought process here.
All right, so we see FlyQuest make a play in the bot lane. They get a couple kills. They look for a dragon. Dig, good contest. Ssumday getting in the mix, getting people low, getting a couple kills. And then right here, he goes over the wall kind of surprisingly, hits the blast cone, goes over. And we're thinking, all right, that had to have been like a mistake. That was a little curious use of his lunge. Why exactly would he do that?
Right, yeah. Step one was, wait a second, why did he go over the wall? That was a free kill on Shen standing right next to him.
And then we watched it again, and we're like, okay, maybe he's not exactly sure of Shen's summoner, so instead of walking around, maybe he's trying to
predicting the flash.
Doing some option coverage, like maybe his taunt's coming up, maybe, I don't know if his flash is up, so we think, okay, that's smart, just, you know, he's gonna get the kill anyways. And then we start thinking more about it. Yeah, we're still thinking about this play, you know, 5 minutes into the game, and we're like, wait a minute, what if he knew that, you know, he can go over the wall, take the blast cone to secure the kill on Shen while denying it away from the rest of FlyQuest, trying to use it to escape. So he cuts off an escape path while still being low health.
While repositioning.
While repositioning at low health, knowing he won't die, which enables eventually Keane to flash in for the kill on the Gragas. It's like, if that's the level Ssumday is thinking at, this is why he is such a monster in the game.
Speculation on our parts, but I want to believe that he is that good.
Sometimes you watch a pro do something and you're like, that was a mistake. Let's be real. That might have been a mistake. But this is one of the times where, if you really think about it, it's not the most ridiculous situation to think that he came up with that solution.
And great. If I've got this guy on my roster, then he's the guy that I want to play through, right? And this is where we see, as the game develops, Dignitas really showed, or rather illustrated, that they understood he was their win condition. We go ahead to 31 minutes into the game, and it's just a major stop the backs kind of situation here while we breach.
Yeah, FlyQuest thinks, okay, we have to force Baron. There's no way we deal with this Fiora, because either we lose the Baron or Fiora ends the game. But the slight positioning by Turtle, one of his, you know, kind of weaknesses in the late game, allows him to get blown up by Keane there. And now it's all off to the races. You see instantly Ssumday takes us as the, I'm gonna go kill their top laner. We got this in the bag. Even if I die now, there's no longer even a threat on Baron even. So there's no reason to hold back anymore. And the rest of Dignitas do a great job chasing down, stopping these backs, flashing in, everyone flashing away. Even Big getting involved, trying his best to kite out high.
Right, and we had mentioned that we even felt like this game was fast. We were surprised at how quickly it ended, just in terms of the time, the actual total game time. There was that small lull, and it was due to the 1 or 2 times that Dignitas opted into straight-up 5v5s, and so maybe a few miscues there, but again, we see the growth within the game itself of them identifying, well, we can't win that way. We can't just keep running at them 5-man headstrong. So let's go ahead and spread the map back out and play more towards our win conditions.
Exactly. That's one of the things that happens over the course of a game with the team, is that sometimes they go too aggressive and they say, okay, we need to play these fights slower, don't focus backline, those kinds of things. This time, yeah, maybe you can win a team fight with a grouped up Fiora, but you can 100% split push to victory, so just go for that plan.
Yeah, well, we've been, you know, ogling over him, but no surprise, he picks up player of the game here for Ssumday. As I say that, it's time now for us to toss you guys over to some bonus coverage of Team Liquid and Echo Fox, as they're our last series of the day. Enjoy.